everyone, we are live yet again, and this is going to be my author's chat of the week. It's actually a morning session this time, and I'll keep my eye out, as I typically do, for my co-host. Let's see when I see that notification pop up. But until then, how is everybody's morning going? Were you able to enjoy the long weekend if you're in the States? And if you aren't in the States, how was your weekend regardless? We had a day off yesterday, so that kind of threw my week off a little bit, and I'm trying to get everything back rocking and rolling for the rest of the week. But yes, just keep my eye out. But yeah, let me know how's everything going. What did you do this weekend? I went hiking, which was a lot of fun. Got up to the mountains and got some great views. It's my cock pot. It was a nice little getaway for the day. Enjoyed it thoroughly. Also, it's always kind of like awe-inspiring when you get to the mountains and have some like great views and you see the clouds rolling over the top of the mountains, and it's very fantasy-esque. Which, since I write fantasy, hello. That's perfect. Okay, I'm still keeping my eye out. My co-host, seeing if she jumps on her live so we can join in. But yeah. What are some of your favorite fantasy scenes or environments? I know mountains are one that draw attention to a lot of times in different lore and myth. And I write, different mountain scenes because, again, it's just very beautiful in, like, thematic aspects, and great to throw in dragons because I'm working on finishing up a book with some dragons, and of course, I'm all about that right now. Just a few handful of chapters away. I'm hoping to get that first draft done before the end of this week so I can put it to bed for a little bit and get on with some other projects. And then I'll come back with fresh eyes probably at some point next year to start doing some real edits, just because I have a lot of different books at different stages. And yeah, it's a way for me to be able to kind of always be writing something, always editing something, always going through edits. There we go. Let's see if it will. There we go. Hello.
On.
I hear you. I don't see you, and I know that happens every so often. And I wish I could tell you how to flip it so you could have the screen on.
Okay, let me get this set up a little bit. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
There we go. Perfect.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? Nice to officially
I'm fine.
meet
How are you?
I'm good.
Oh, let me get my tea. Let me get my tea. I have my mug here.
There you go. I know. It's like any morning session, I feel like I have to live. I'm a coffee drinker, so I live off my coffee.
It's tea for me. I can't do coffee, but I can do plenty of tea.
Hey, tea's great. Absolutely favorite. So what I was kind of, while people were chiming in and everything, saying, I was asking the general viewers what is one of their favorite environments and different, because I write fantasy, and so what is your favorite environments? I went to the mountains this past weekend and just curious to hear what people were interested in. But I'm going to turn this over to you for a second, and I keep these pretty casual. I'll just let you introduce yourself, what you write, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so my name is Georgina Kiersten, or rather, you'll know me as Georgina Kiersten, but the name that I actually have chosen for myself is Gigi Kiersten. I'm a Black romance author and interracial romance author. I write, what you'll know under my Georgina Kiersten stuff is very cozy romance, very sweet romance, low angst, because I'm like, the world is angsty enough. I don't need to give you more angst. So,
okay, I'll bring the angst. I'll bring the angst in my writing, but yes, continue.
But yeah, well, I write like Black LGBTQ plus romance, and the world is kind of dangerous right now for us. So I feel like it's my privilege and my honor to be able to write like a sweet, cozy romance where you don't have to worry about like a big angsty breakup moment, or you don't have to have any worries. You could just chill and let your mind be for a bit, because yeah, there's time and places for angst. I'm not saying that angst is not like doesn't have a place, but like when I'm writing on my Georgina Kiersten books in particular, I'm always just trying to write something that's like a soft place to land, especially for my target audience, which is Black LGBTQ plus people.
Yeah, no, I understand. And I think like people all across the board are really enjoying more and more cozy literature of various fashions, be it cozy romances or just
Mm-hmm.
cozy slice of life, adventure, fantasy. And I keep hearing and seeing a lot more authors writing that kind of feel good genre because we all kind of want to feel good. We all have the days that yes, you might want a little adventure or maybe you want a little horror or something, but everybody I feel like has those days that just you want to just relax and chill and feel good. And I know with my schedule recently, I've had a very busy schedule for the last few months, and I need those downtimes, the feel good, unwind downtimes for whatever way. And be it, you are a reader and you enjoy cozy romance, or what I do is I watch there's a bracket of anime Studio Ghibli, and then they're just feel good movies,
Oh
and I just put
yeah,
them on, and it's just like ah.
yeah. There's for me my little it's Beatrix Potter's the
Yeah.
Wonderful World of Beatrix Potter, which is an oldie but goodie, but yeah, sort of like that cozy cottage core feel to
Mhm.
it, which I love. And so I try to take all those feelings that I get. Like I'm constantly thinking of lists of what makes me feel cozy, so I can put them in my books.
Yeah.
And so I would just want to, I there's books that I write, like I'm writing a Sleepy Hollow retelling, which is gore and heads flowing everywhere and angst,
Very different.
and like because I have contradictions. Sometimes I need the soft, cozy things, and sometimes I need like revenge stories and or horror romance. So it's just like, but like people most know me for is my cozy romances, and they're kind of
Mhm.
surprised that I have those multitudes of or those contradictions within myself to write darker stuff. But I'm like, you know, I'm a complicated person.
Oh yeah, yeah, no, and that's I love talking to authors who do dabble in various genres, and some are very different from each other. And I don't know if you've chosen and I'll get to that moment, a pen name for yourself in different categories. Okay, because I know
Mm-hmm.
that's usually the recommended thing. My writing all falls under epic fantasy, the various subbrackets of it, and so at the moment I haven't gone the route of different author names. But if I did kind of jump dramatically, I feel like that would be a smart thing to do.
Yeah, I think I have four right now. Um, three are active. It's Georgina Kiersten, it's Ryan Fox, which is The Devil's Bargain, which is darker.
Mm,
Like it's dark monster romance,
that's fun.
which it was fun to do. And people don't know anything about that book for some reason because it went right under the radar.
Hmm.
So when they're surprised that I am also Ryan Fox, they kind of get a little bit surprised about it. And then I
Fun.
have Jasper Hyde, which is my new thing, which is I'm going to be doing my paranormal, my darker paranormal stuff.
Fun.
I have a Splinter, my Sleepy Hollow one is under Jasper Hyde. I plan to do a Red Riding Hood one
Ooh.
under Jasper Hyde as well. So that's going to be fun. And then I have my Nexon King, which is like dark romance. I wouldn't really say dark romance, just like morally gray romance, right?
Yeah.
I'm doing a black trans erotic romance called The Clapback, in which I get my Katie Roberts on and have my main character sleep with her ex's much hotter, much richer brother. So yeah, I have multitudes.
That's so much. No, that is. I love that. I do love that, and that is a great way. Again, if you're an author and you're interested in doing various just subgenres, but a different pen name, because there's going to be the readers who are just going to be your tried and true readers, and they don't care what you write, and they're going to read everything. And then there are going to be the ones that only want a certain genre or niche. But I had a couple comments popping up, one referring back to the cozy vibe of Legends and Lattes, and yes, that's a popular one at the moment.
Yeah.
And the other one asking about books on Audible. Do you have audiobooks for any of yours at the moment, or have you dabbled with that?
I'm actually in because this is actually an announcement, because I haven't said this anywhere else, but right now Fall Into You is getting an audiobook done. It's still in the works. It's taken its time because a lot of stuff happened this year, and it's been a kind of a crazy year. But yes, Fall Into You will be getting an audiobook. I have plans for More to Love, my newest book that's coming out, to have an audiobook, hopefully sometime either this year or next year. So just keep your eyes peeled, and especially if you're a newsletter subscriber, keep your eyes peeled, because you're going to be getting that first.
Yes, and that's one of those things. You know, if you're a person who's really interested into any author, subscribing into, you know, the newsletter is a great way to make sure you get all the news about what that author is producing, especially one that has multiple names, pen names. Thank you. I blanked for a second there, just because, again, then you can kind of follow and know what is going and being released under all the different pen names. And for me, I started dabbling into Audible and audiobooks recently, as in last year. About this time last year was the first time I really started making that big effort. And so I have, at the moment, all 3 of my series are being converted by different groups. And I have the first 4 of my dark fantasy based off Viking Norse mythology. So Vikings meets dark fantasy vibes. So the first 4 of those are out. And the first one of my young adult portal fantasy, very different vibe, a little more on the positive side of fantasy and questing based stuff, is out. But eventually all of them will be converted, and the ones I have are through Audible. So I don't know, are you releasing yours through Audible or somewhere else?
I haven't decided yet. I think because I'm just made the switch over to Wide, from Amazon exclusive to Wide, and so I'm still trying to figure out things with audiobooks, because audiobooks is so complicated. It's actually more complicated than the regular publishing. I mean, I had 5 years to get used to the sort of the waves of publishing, to get used to it. And now I'm doing audio stuff, and it's really more difficult, especially because it's expensive. It's really expensive. And I'm trying to find narrators who will either do a royalty share, or who will cut me a discount. And I believe in, creatives charging their worth, but I usually cannot afford to pay them their worth, which is unfortunate.
It's one of the reasons why I pushed off for forever, it feels like, for a long, long time, because it is a big financial hit when you're doing and trying to pay in full, which a lot of people do, and there are reasons why people do it. But then, as you were saying, if anybody's listening and interested in this part, an author can narrate it themselves. I don't have the equipment, don't have the time, don't know that technology, will not do it myself. Or like you were mentioning, a royalty share, which one of mine I'm doing a royalty share with, and it's a deal where you have a number of years, I think it's 7, if you go through the Audible program, where you split all your profits 50-50 for those 7 years. And so that way you don't have to pay up front, and it's a way for people to get a leg in the door. But on the flip side, one of the positive sides of paying it outright is that if you down the line are picked up by, or in the works of being picked up by a bigger publishing house, or maybe some international company to produce it, they're less inclined to pick you up if you're entangled with financially paying someone else for that project as a 50-50 split. So there's pros and cons of it all, and I'm figuring it out along the way, stumbling mainly, but figuring it out. But yeah, so that's still a very exciting that, you're about to have your first audiobook, and I don't know if you've gotten to the point to start. You said you're looking for a narrator at this moment, or are you?
No, I actually, I don't know if she wants me to announce it.
Okay, then don't.
So my friend. Okay, but I've actually gotten samples of
Oh,
the
nice.
audiobook that's working. And it is strange. It is like it is strange because you're like, did I write? Cause I have imposter syndrome,
Yes.
and I'm like, and I always think that my writing sucks, and so I it takes me back to like when I listen to these samples, it's like, did I write that?
Yeah.
Did I it's because it's strange. It's this really strange um situation. Is bizarre.
Mhm. Mhm. Oh, and it is very, you know, yes, it's someone else reading your book out to you. And so hearing just someone else read, even just like the descriptions and all that, it is kind of a little bit flattering, a little bit wowing, a little bit shocking of just hearing the words you wrote coming back at you, if that makes sense. It's a very different feel. And also, I've noticed it's interesting when a narrator narrates a voice, which in my head, I know what they're supposed to sound like, and then someone else, it's
Yeah.
different, and you have to kind of get over that difference. It's not necessarily better or
Hmm.
worse, but it's just different than what
Yeah.
I
Yeah. I had that problem because like my character Cassidy is Afro Latinx, right?
had.
She's Mexican, Afro Mexican, and
Hmm.
so when I was writing Cassidy's character, I didn't hear the accent, right? Because she's supposed to
Hmm.
have an accent because she's ESL or whatever. And so I was like, my narrator did the accent. And I was
Ah.
like, and it took me a minute. It took me a minute to get used to it because Cassidy, the way that she sounds like me, basically, right? I hear her in her, I hear her in my head. And to hear her come alive in a different way than I had thought
Hmm.
is kind of strange. And it kind of gives me like, it bears the question because all of us dreams of one day our books being adapted into
Yes.
movies. And
Oh.
I would love to ask an author that's had this experience how they deal with having their characters literally come off the page and onto the
Hmm.
screen because I'm just experiencing it through audio of them coming alive through audio, and it's just a really strange. It's really bizarre. It's really strange because you created these people and you brought them into the world, and it's just a weird. It's a weird thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and yes, I know most, not all. I know I've talked to a couple authors who are like, I actually really don't want my books to be adapted. And I was like, fair enough. But I know a lot of us do. And it's one of those things is the questions, what if they cast someone that you didn't expect? How would you like wrap your head around that? Or again, yeah, each actor presenting the character in a way that you didn't intend. Again, maybe better, maybe worse, maybe it's all different in the wash, but it would be a strange and a surreal thing just going through that process. Have I been there? No. But it's a strange and surreal idea. But yeah, that's cool. So, of your series, because you have so many varieties and so many books, it sounds like right now, which one would you prefer to get adapted first, if you could?
Oh, Splinter, which is the Sleepy Hollow one. Because let me tell you something. Like I don't know if you've seen the show, Sleepy Hollow, which was on Fox, and me and my partner were fans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's with Nicole Berry and Tom Mison, and me and my partner were fans, and we were watching it week to week and talking about it, and then a lot of Black people were like watching it because it was the first Black woman to lead a supernatural show. And that's what was really important. And also, she was dark skinned, which was also
Mm-hmm.
important. And then to have what happened to her, which was that she was killed off in a really disrespectful way to be replaced by a white woman, it made us mad. And we were just like, and this show ended like what, 5 years ago, 5, 6 years ago. And today, readers, or not even readers, the audience is still mad. Like if you say
Well,
Sleepy Hollow,
yeah. I've not seen
if
that one. I've
you
not seen that rendition of it, but yeah,
like if
I
you
can
say
imagine.
Sleepy, yeah, they are mad. And so I tried to rewatch it and I got mad again. And I was like, why am I still mad?
Yeah.
Like, this is like everyone has moved on, the actors have moved on, the directors have moved on, everyone's moved on. But why am I still mad? And so I decided to write Splinter, which was sort of my take what the show began
Mm-hmm.
and twist it into something new.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually become its own thing. And it's been a beautiful, although frustrating process because it took me 2 years to get to this point. Um, but yes, I would love to see it adapted because it's like a black lead, a Filipino lead, a love interest, who's Ichabod Crane, who's
Yeah. Yeah.
notoriously always been white, and black witches and all that good stuff. So I would love to. I would like sit there with like the front seat of the row, just like eating up that type of adaptation.
That would be, yeah, no, that would be really neat to see because Sleepy Hollow is one of those kind of old school classics that has been
Mm-hmm.
redone and redone and redone. But even in those reiterations, it's been fairly status quo, and there hasn't been too many that have gone outside the box. And so with you, I mean, with Splinter, it sounds like you're hitting a lot of the marks where it's in the sense of retellings are very, very popular right now of all sorts of fairy tales and lore, and that sounds like that would draw a lot of attention to it, just being a fact that it's a retelling as well as, the way you're presenting it in a new, in a new light, which is pretty kind of neat.
I think the thing about the show that a lot of us
Mm-hmm.
came to love the show as it was, especially that first season, is that it was really a radical take
Yeah.
on Sleepy Hollow from the jump, like
Mm-hmm.
alternate history, alternate revolutionary history with a black lead,
Mm-hmm.
and and that was like, oh, the possibilities. This is opening doors to more possibilities with black leads. And I was like, wow. And then they disappointed me in the worst way.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have to do something with this because this is a door that's still open.
Yeah.
And this is an opportunity. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's why this particular book has stuck with me through 2 long years.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I understand. And, I, that's, I think there are a lot of books out there for different reasons where someone has written it because they were inspired or the fact that they saw something like my friend AP Beswick, he saw one of the Robin Hood movies that he in his mind hated it so much he was like, I'm going to do a better retelling than that, and wrote his book because he was like, I'm going to take the things that should have been done and do it better. And I think that's kind of a neat way that a lot of people are inspired in various ways of writing books, because of that concept where it's just like this story needs to be told, I'm going to be the one to tell it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty cool. And I have a couple comments popping up, one talking about the interest and the horror show that came out a couple years ago, Lovecraft Country,
Yeah.
and how that one was, canceled abruptly. But it was, again, that really interesting, different take on um, telling some stories that we have heard for years. I have not ever read a Lovecraft book, so I can't really say much about it. I
I
have not
have
yet,
because
but
so the preparation I did for Splinter, and this is I'm supposed to be promoting like more to love, but the
you
preparation
can
I
do
did for
whatever you want.
Splinter,
It's your hour.
the preparation I did for Splinter was I started reading a lot more fantasy and a lot more horror, right? And
Mhm.
one of the horror books that I tried to read was a Lovecraft book.
Mhm.
And Lovecraft, if you don't know, was famously, and I
Yeah.
mean famously racist. Like, it's so
Yeah.
racist that it actually, because usually when it comes to books, it doesn't necessarily pop off that page unless you're like analyzing it. But it popped off the page immediately with
Mhm.
Lovecraft, like to the point that it slapped me in the face. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm not going to
Mhm.
read any more of his books. But what that did was open the door to Lovecraftian books,
Mm-hmm.
and in particular, short stories. And I read this fantastic Lovecraft story in which a Muslim man is doing a jihad against a Christian pastor who's a Lovecraftian monster on a plane. And it was, I think it was in Fire. I think it was in Fire magazine because it was speculative fiction, but it was fantastic. It was written by a Muslim author, and it really brought to the fold, or rather to my attention, what diverse Lovecraft style fiction can do, and what
Mm-hmm.
stories they can tell, even though the creator of this particular genre was like ridiculously racist. So it really is like finding opportunities to open doors for diverse people
Mm-hmm.
that keeps me interested, in particular into paranormal and fantasy.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's the thing is, just because someone is a founder of a genre, people who are inspired by it can be inspired and take that genre in new ways and improve upon it and diversify it in a variety of ways. But no, that's pretty interesting. And I'm sorry, I have a comment that popped up a little bit ago. I'm trying to respond when I can, saying that I guess going back to the idea of characters and how authors in their heads hear their own characters in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
I have a comment that popped up saying the MC, this particular author's writing sounds like Dave Patel, a British Indian with some Tamil influence as an accent. So that'd be
Oh
kind
man, yes, yes. I love, like, first of all, I love Dave Patel. Like, since like what was that first show that he did? I can't remember. Skims, something like that, right?
of.
It was a British show, British teenage show. And I loved him since then. And he's basically the biggest glow up since I mean, because if you looked at him as a teenager and then look at him now, he went from cute to fine. And I was like, dang. So like
That's how that happens sometimes. No, I love that. But yeah, so you were saying you wanted to talk a little bit more about one of your other series. So let's get back to that one. And where do your ideas come from? Obviously, you had Splinter coming from the concept you wanted to retell this particular story of. But what about your other ones? Like, where do your other ideas come from? Are they inspired by
they
other
just
things?
come out of the air.
I love
Like
it.
I'll be like for me, like I'm like, I gotta come up with an idea for a new book because I need, like, when your money is basically your books, you cannot just like lay on your laurels and wait for an idea to happen. So I was like trolling Pinterest, and I was like, what are cozy ideas? And then I was scrolling through TikTok, because this is for Immortal Love, right? And I'm scrolling through TikTok and I see this guy, and he's this gorgeous fat Korean guy. And he has like the most beautiful style. But he's like a fat, and he's in wrestling clothes. And he was not even in wrestling clothes, he was in weightlifting clothes, right? And and I was like, I have never seen a finer guy. And also, this is the first time I've seen like a fat Korean guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because if you watch Korean like K dramas, and you watch just Asian dramas, period, you don't see a lot of fat people. So
No, they're very
what
lean.
caught my attention,
All cinema.
yeah, I saw this fat Korean guy, and I was like, and he was queer, so I was like, oh, I can do something with this.
Yes.
And I actually did a thirst trap video on this account of this person. I'm not gonna say his name, but yeah, and I was like, ooh, he's so fine. And then I couldn't stop thinking about this video, and I ended up developing the initial outline for More to Love in like an hour, because it's just like that.
Love that. I absolutely love that, because that's the thing is, authors, we're so different on how we approach writing and our, influences and inspirations. Some people can, come up with a story, like you said, in like an hour, and all of a sudden you're like, voila, it's here. It's been born in your mind, and now you just have to write it down. And then there are others who take time, and they have to like really put a lot of effort to come up with their storylines, and then there are the authors who will write a book in 2 weeks and then struggle for another year to come up with the next idea. And it's wild, but like, we're all very different. And Thankfully, I'm a little bit like you, where I always have like this bubble of ideas at this moment in time. I don't know if that will continue forever, but right now it's more on the race of trying to write all of them before I forget them, kind of thing. But
Yeah, I
yeah.
have like a Google Keep. Like it almost looks like Pinterest, but like it's like notes, right? And so I have a note. It's full of notes of story ideas that I can just use at all times, and I'm barely in it because I'm just like I'm gonna go to Pinterest first, and I'm gonna go look at something, or I'm gonna go look at something on TikTok. And I have like on TikTok, when I see something that's interesting, that's like, oh, this is a story idea, a good story idea. I'll put it in bookmark it and put it in a folder, so
Yep.
I can look over it and see if I can make something out of it. I just like ideas are all the thing about being an author and looking for ideas is that you have to always be filling the well, always with input. So that's why reading is like really important. This is why watching TV shows and movies and what do you call it, and taking in art is so
Yeah.
important.
Story.
You have to constantly fill the well because you never know what will pop out of the well.
Hmm.
So you have to always keep it full.
Oh, I 100% agree on that one, because for me I'm one of those people that when I'm not writing, I do pet portraiture. And so the nice thing is during my painting days and sessions, or maybe it's a session where I'm working on an afternoon that I'm working on social media or whatever, but I'll turn on a background movie or a show and binge watch essentially, but it's because I'm always trying to like consume stories. It's just, that makes sense. It's like, I'm always like trying to like hear a new story, hear a new tale, and I go through it. And it's also because I don't have a lot of time to sit down and read, which is unfortunate. I do try to make sure I read a little bit daily, but not enough as other author compared to some other authors, clearly. But it's movies and cinema and TV shows are just another way to ingest a story that, and again, as authors, we're trying to always kind of get our inspiration from somewhere. And who knows? You might stumble across something that inspires your next book. Maybe a Sleepy Hollow.
For me, like my whole era is LGBTQ
Hmm.
focused, and
Hmm.
I watch a lot, and I do mean a lot of Asian LGBTQ dramas, and I also read like Chinese BL novels as well because I always like as for me, I've always tried to not only concentrate on sort of the westernized version of what love is and what relationships are, because we as a community sort of are very
Yeah.
Eurocentric focused. And so I tried to open my mind to the possibilities of what other countries and other cultures
Hmm.
experience love and how they experience and deal with it. So I find like watching Asian dramas will actually make me see like romantic beats more clearly, maybe like point it out very clearly because I'm a visual person. Or like there are things like they do that I will absolutely like. That's a great idea. I should implement it in a book. Um, my favorite thing from Asian dramas that I think I actually put this in Mortal Love is the fake fall,
Yeah.
where they in the fakest, most contrived way possible will fall
Yes.
into the arms of their
Yes.
love interest.
Repeatedly. Repeatedly.
And I'm like, that is the fakest fall I've ever seen, but I'm going
Hmm.
to use it because it's so much fun.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, again, as a fantasy author, I love watching wuxia and other kind of Asian
Mm-hmm.
style, flicks and everything in those genres and subgenres, but that's a very thing. Once you get to the romance, either the subplot, which is a romance, or maybe it's a primary thing, you have a romantic couple, there is going to be someone tripping. Either the guy, girl, a guy to guy, girl to girl, whatever it is, someone's going to be tripping in someone else's arm,
Yeah,
and it's you could almost call it.
it's hilarious and it's fun.
Yep, and everybody that's
It's
doing it.
hilarious.
Oh yeah. Continue.
No, go ahead.
But yeah, I was gonna say it is interesting when you watch other cinema, when we're talking about cinema or shows that are from other countries and other cultures, and they definitely have certain things that they like to keep in those genres where you almost check off the box.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the fall in the romance side. Okay, we have that trust fall into someone else's arms unintentionally, and you check off the little boxes of what they expect. But it is really interesting because we all tell stories and so differently. And it's fun to try to read outside of what you're raised, whatever you're raised by, read outside of that and expand in variety of ways. Hello, everyone. I see more people popping in. Hello. Anywho, but yeah, so I like that. I like that fall in your book. Have you written that scene yet, or is this something you're intending to write in a book you're working on?
No, I think I've written the scene. I think I have. I'm not, because I'm in edits right now for More to Love, because More to Love comes out next month in July. Yeah. So I'm in edits. So I'm thinking I think it has. If not, I'll probably do it in a different book. I absolutely did it in Fall Into You. I absolutely did. And I had so much fun where someone pushes her and she's falling into her love interest's arms. And it really is like a sort of a nod to the actual title of the book, and I had too much fun doing that. So if I didn't do it in More to Love, I absolutely did it in Fall Into You.
Yep. I mean, but there is something to say with inserting a good trope into a storyline, and be it in the romance. I'm not a romance writer, but there are definitely the iconic romance tropes that people love. When you say that it's in your book, there's going to be someone jumping up being like, I love that, like that close proximity and other kind of tropes that are in kind of the more romantic.
Oh, one bed is absolutely happening. Like one bed is absolutely happening in this particular story. Because that's my favorite trope. Like the one bed trope is my favorite trope. Enemies to lovers, one bed, and grumpy sunshine is like one of my favorite. And if I can put at least one of my favorite tropes in my romance books, I've known I've done a good job at the end of the day.
Yes, I do like that. The grumpy sunshine thing. Yes, that was definitely popular. And thinking about one of the shows that I watched, which is I'm trying to remember if it was Korean based, but it was translated. The title translates either to The Fairy and the Devil or The Fairy and the Demon, depending on the translation.
Oh yeah.
But that I don't remember how many seasons that one had, but definitely Grumpy Sunshine vibes in that one for a big part of that one.
Untamed. I don't know if you watched or heard about the Untamed drama, which was a Chinese gay drama. I say gay, but it's MM drama. Was very much Grumpy Sunshine. Like the guy was very and it spoke one word sentences. And then the Sunshine was bubbly and introverted. So it was such an interesting twist on that particular trope. And the Sunshine guy turned out to be a necromancer, and the grumpy guy was the good boy, the goody goody two shoes. So it was a great example how you can sort of subvert that trope. And this is one of the reasons that I love it so much, and also because it's fantastic fantasy, because it's based off of MDZS by which is the Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation. And yeah, it's a long title because it's Chinese. So, but yeah, a really great fantasy book. I'm collecting the paperbacks right now. So the paperbacks are expensive, like $20 a pop. Wow. But yeah, one of the best fantasy, especially queer fantasy, I've seen come out of China lately. I think also Iron Widow is also one of the best Chinese fantasies I've read. I mean, oh my God, I went to Iron Widow.
Yeah.
I went into Iron Widow thinking that's going to be typical YA, right? Because even no matter how dark a YA fantasy gets, there's a line, right?
There's supposed to be a line before you jump into
There's a line. Yeah, especially like it's traditionally published. Iron Willow is traditionally published by a big five publisher. So I thought, hey, there's going to be a line.
Oops.
Nope, no line. Like it's hardcore from the jump, and I was not expecting to be as hardcore or to go as hard as it did, and I was like, okay. I underestimated you, Sharon. I underestimated you so much. I'm so sorry.
I do see a comment popping up saying Iron Window is wild. There is no line. So yes.
I mean, I'm serious. Go in with all the content warnings. You can make sure you check the content warnings. I didn't do that. I was a clown. Make sure you check the content warnings, because when I tell you, I'm trying not to spoil it because it's so good and I want people to read it. But it is hardcore for YA. I've never seen a YA that hardcore. Like Hunger Games wasn't that hardcore at the worst of times.
Yeah.
So it's actually more hardcore than Hunger Games. So if you like hardcore queer, because everybody's bi, all the three main characters are bi. So if you like queer, like hardcore fantasy coming out that's about Chinese history, a little bit about Chinese history or based on Chinese history, definitely check out Iron Widow and just like clutch your pearls and get ready for the roller coaster ride. I'm serious. I'm like, let's see. David says Iron Widow is wild, and I'm like, absolutely is roller coaster ride. Like you won't feel those 400 pages. Like I'm serious. It'd be like, I'm a slow reader. Like it takes me forever to get through thick books. So I was zooming through Iron Widow because it's a roller coaster ride. Definitely.
Love that. And that's the thing is, I think a great book, it doesn't matter how large it is, as long as it keeps your attention and, and has that right pacing. And if you have that right pacing, whatever it is, you'll blink and you'll be like, wow, I just burned through like 700-page book, but that didn't feel like it. And I think the same thing goes with like movies and shows. If you have that right pacing, you could watch something and it goes, oh, I saw that comment too. But yeah, it goes a lot faster. But yeah, no, I will definitely have to look into Iron Widow and put that on my my to be read list. My eternally growing after this platform, it never ends. Eternally growing to be read list.
David, I have to talk about David's comment because this is I made me like. So David says his daughter gave it to him with no warning, and I'm like, ow, 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 ooh, oh. Did you piss her off? Did you piss her off, dude? Seriously? Ouch! Ow! Like
breathe.
I'm serious. I'm not gonna spoil it, but like when I say you need to read the content warnings before you read this book, you absolutely do. You absolutely do.
So that actually gives me a good question. So do you, for any of your books, because you go from everything from cozy to, it sounds like more like horror fantasy, kind of paranormal, do you put content warnings anywhere for any reason or not? Okay.
Oh, no. I don't play about content warnings, and not as a reader and not as a writer. Now, I am I don't know if I can say this, I'm a grape survivor. I'm a essay survivor. And I take those particular topics very seriously. We were just having this conversation recently as a book talk because some person was talking about, oh, you need the exposure therapy or whatever for trigger warnings. And I firmly believe that trigger warnings are a way to give consent for your readers to give informed consent on what they're reading so they can make the choice if they can read it or not, or if it's too much or not. And I do not play with people who, as a reader, I do not play with people who do not give trigger warnings for triggering content, especially when it comes to grape. I do not play with people who give me vague, condescending trigger warnings. Oh, some of this material will be triggering to some people. I need specifics when it comes to trigger warning. I need a list, okay? And if you can't give me a list, then I am, one, not the right reader for you. And two, I don't really want to read anything else you have ever written, and you're going to go on my blacklist. When I say I take content warnings seriously, I really do take it seriously. And as a writer, the content warnings are like, I think, page 2 or 3, right after the dedications. Yeah. As I think I could do this in Atticus.io, where you can set the content warnings as the first page of your book. So when they open the book, first thing that you get is the content warnings. And I have a list there. Although I know that Amazon was cracking down on content warnings, where they were taking down books because it was like the first 2 pages, so they can see it through the explore or see more option, and taking them down. So, I know authors who just like maybe either do a QR code or a link where you can go to the page in which you do the content warnings, and that's perfectly fine, perfectly acceptable. I don't mind going to a website. I also have content warnings on my book pages. So if you're not sure about content warnings in my books, and I have them for all of my books, not just the darker books, because even though I say this is light and fluffy, I still talks about fat phobia and religious trauma and emotional abuse from a parent and blocking that parent and cutting that parent off. And More to Love talks about divorce, because my main character is a divorced person. It talks about grief and dealing with the death of a parent or a grandparent. So I always try to make sure to list those content warnings in every book and not just in my darker books.
No, that's a wonderful thing to do. And I do like, that's a smart thing, because I was wondering how people who embed them were dealing with the Amazon thing. So putting a QR code is a smart way for people to do that.
Ava Weiss did that. She pioneered that. I think she did it in a really great way. She said, she did it on the author's note, because they have like words they're looking out for content warning. She did it on an author's note, and then she said, there may be trigger content. Here are the content warnings, and then a link, and then underneath it is a QR code. So just in case you get it in a print book, you could just QR code, go directly to the website and check that out. And I was like, both are valid. Both are. I will never argue with an author who's trying to, write darker content, still make money, and not be brought down by Amazon. But my issue as a reader is the authors who do not take content warnings seriously, who think it's we're being special snowflakes, and I'm like, no. I want to know, or the other argument, it's spoiling the content, which has never made sense to me, because they're just telling you what's in there, the spoiling, the triggering content. They're not telling you how that triggered content is going to be addressed or written. It's just telling you that it's in there. And maybe because I'm come from fan fiction, where you have, especially AO3 has tags in the fic where they'll absolutely, without any type of drama, will give you content warnings, and that's something I'm used to doing. So it was easy for me to carry that over.
And you have to think all shows, I feel like, not maybe not all shows, I have to go verify that one, but a lot of shows that are on streamable services right now will have their content warning, and they have it up in the corner, and it's, if you want to check it, it's going to be there right at the beginning, so you can kind of get an idea if you're going to be comfortable. And people are doing it all different ways, and again, it's to make readers comfortable, or viewers comfortable, and cover your bases as the writer or the show or whatever. But it's saying, hey, just be warned, because there are going to be people who just don't want to deal with whatever that is and would prefer to just find something else. So I totally agree. Definitely. So with your plethora of books, I'm going to switch back at you one more time. because we're actually getting closer to the end of the hour, I want to ask, where can people follow you and find you? Obviously, you're on Book Talk, but where else can people find you, follow you, learn more about your books?
Okay, so I'm an Inglorious Gigi, like
Yes,
Inglorious Bastards, but Inglorious Gigi,
yes.
on Twitter, on Instagram, and on here. Now, I
Hmm.
do have other accounts, but I am the most active on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok.
Hmm.
You can find all information about my books with the link in my bio.
Hmm.
Um, I try to keep it updated, or also on my website as well. Um, Also, if you're not really on here a lot, or are worried about someone being blocked or banned, the easiest and the most free way to keep up and keep track with my what I'm doing is through my newsletter, which is also in the link in my bio. And yeah, I'm pretty easy to find. If you have any questions or you want to talk to me, just slide on in.
Love it. I love it. I absolutely love that. And yes, that is always, again, can't say it enough. Newsletters. I know I get there are people who just don't want their inboxes inundated with 1,002 of them, but it is the greatest way because no matter what happens on different socials or whatnot, it's your direct link to an author. So they're great.
Hmm.
I love that. And yeah, when I repost this on YouTube, I'll make sure I put all your links below so people can also find you
Hmm.
quickly there and continue to read some of your books. But one of my other questions I always want to make sure I ask before the end of the hour is, have we covered everything you wanted to cover? Is there any questions you had, any topics you want to talk about, anything you want to make sure you shine light upon that we have not talked about today?
Well, no, I don't think so. No, um, just like I just want to just take a moment out to say this is a time where authors are getting hit the hardest. Like, and I'm not just talking for myself, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm going to be fine. But a lot of authors are getting hit the hardest. We have AI coming for us in all forms and all for all creatives. And if you have it within your ability to support authors, please support authors. Please support marginalized authors. Please support LGBTQ plus authors because Pride is coming up next month.
Mm-hmm.
And do always remember to support LGBTQ authors through the entire year and not just Pride. But yes, support your creatives, support artists and narrators, and make sure that you let them know that what they're doing is making your life a little better. So
And that's absolutely true. And I know not everybody, is financially capable to doing it, but there are free ways also to support authors, depending, from, hey, just talking about them and, recommending, other
mm-hmm.
people to check them out. And there are other ways, again, engagement is another way to, like, again, show your appreciation to an author that's financially maybe savvy for someone who doesn't have the means at this point in time to support by buying a book. But we also love when you buy books.
We like to eat too. We want to, we like to eat.
We do like that. Turning on lights and electricity is a nice thing. Charging the phone.
Like we're not all J.K. Rowling over here. Like we are not making
Nope.
them big bucks. So like throw a coin. Oh, I was about to think
Yep,
throw a
yep.
coin to your richer.
Yep. Throw a coin to your
But
author.
yes, but
Oh,
yes, throw a coin to your author.
wait. Now I want that on a shirt. But I need a new shirt. I love my bookish shirts, but I'm like, wait, hold on. I need that. Throw a coin to your author. Hmm.
I think there's enough Witcher fans within the author community that it's absolutely
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
a T-shirt somewhere.
Oh yeah. I'll have to
You
like.
could
I'll
probably
see what
find it.
shirt this, and if not, it needs to be one. I'm not a shirt designer, but there you go. That's a freebie right there for anybody who wants to design a shirt. Just send me one, please. But yeah, so thank you so much for coming out today and chit-chatting. I've been wanting to talk to you for a little while. I've been following your account, and I did not know how your breadth or your range of work. So that was really kind of cool that, you're one of those that when you're inspired, you write it. And I love that.
Yeah, I have ADHD, and I'm a full-time author, so I have plenty of time to just do what I want, and I'm blessed that I'm able to do that.
And I mean, that's amazing. That is amazing. And if at any point you want to jump back on one of these, I do them weekly, and we can always chat about whatever
Okay.
you're up to at the moment, because you're a prolific writer, it also appears. So I'm sure I'm gonna blink and you're gonna have like 52 other books out, and I'll
Oh
be trying to
no, I
catch
do
up.
2 books a year, honey. I do 2 books a year, honey. Cause
Okay,
I
okay.
like
It just
yeah.
sounds like you're always putting
It
something
sounds
out.
like it's a lot. It sounds like a lot, but like I'm doing 2 books a year because I cannot afford it
Yeah.
otherwise. Because it's getting more and more expensive. Like high KDP print, who up just yeah cannot afford it. So,
Yeah, I know, and
but
that's
yes,
the tough thing. Talking about things are changing in the author field, and it is harder financially for us to be able to turn around and produce stuff. So yeah, just support us however you can.
please do.
Please do. I appreciate it. But yeah, thank you for coming out and chatting with me this morning, and we'll have to keep in
Hmm.
touch. I love talking with you, and we should do it again if we can. Bye, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you
Well,
for listening.
bye.
And I will repurpose this on YouTube in a couple weeks, and you can find all the links below. Bye,
Okay.
everyone.
Bye.